everyone. Welcome again to, actually we're in week 12. I still have some editing to do in this course. We're in week 12, part 2 of the emotional brain, our incredible, magical, amazing brain. And this week is our last week of the series. Well, before we get into that, you know, I'm Abigail. I'm coming from Israel, and we're talking about foundational healing. And foundational healing with many different natural modalities, all natural modalities. We don't believe in turning to anything that isn't natural, except in maybe the case of an emergency. And that's a whole huge, interesting topic and discussion. And it has to do with so many things. It has to do with our belief system, what we believe is actually healing us. Do people heal us? Do drugs heal us? Does surgery heal us? Do we heal ourselves? Is it our thoughts? Is it what we eat? Is it what we put into ourselves? Is it our skincare products? Is it some kind of natural solution, whether it's essential oils or whole food supplements? So many questions, so many ideas, and so many possibilities and options as well. There's so much we can do. Chiropractic work, Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, eating raw, permaculture. There's so much that goes into how we function as a human being, as mankind, as womankind, and how we get to the place of full support of this creation. However you believe that this body came to be, it doesn't really matter, because what we're trying to figure out in this course together and understand and educate ourselves about is, how does it work? And you know, we said before, foundational healing is an umbrella term. It encompasses so many different modalities and definitions and understandings. But what it all comes down to is the fact that our body heals itself. So we're not claiming cures or healing or fixing anything with anything. We understand that this vehicle is self-sustaining, self-healing, self-regulating. But as in anything, it's not an island to itself. So what does it need in order to function properly and effectively as this independent, self-sustaining creature? How can we help that? Can we do anything for it? Can we do anything against it? So we learned at the very beginning of the course, and this is again week 12. So 12 weeks ago, we started learning about how this body does it all. And the one thing that really takes us, destroys the mechanisms, is toxins. It's kind of like putting salt into your gas tank, into your engine oil, and all of that. Something can stop this vehicle from working, and that is toxins. Where do we get toxins, and what do they do? Well, we learned toxins come into our bodies from 3 different areas: from inhalation, from ingestion, what we eat, what we put inside of our mouths, and topically, what we put on our skin. So you know everything that we can do with that, you know, where we buy our skin products and our food, and what we're breathing, whether it's, you know, just polluted air outside, or actually smoking, or chemicals that we're breathing in, etc. So those are it's very simple. What we breathe, what we eat, and what we put on our skin. These are the 3 pathways that toxins come into our body, and the toxins is what creates all of the feelings that we don't want to feel, let's say. I'm going to take my picture out here for a second so you can see this slide. Is your bucket overflowing? We don't want to have our bucket overflowing with all this horrible things. And so we've talked about these last 12 weeks, how we can avoid that situation. We just do not need to be experiencing any of these things. So the second part of this class in brain, our emotional brain, there we go, is really to get more practical. And we want to, how can we safely use our emotional brain? Because we already know when we talked last week about the difference between a negative emotion and a positive emotion, and what is the goal and function and use of both of those. So we remember we talked about the negative emotions. Negative emotion is very, very highly studied and constitutes most of the mental and emotional therapy work that's out there, is to help people deal with negative emotions. And what I would like to see is a whole new sector come out of how to use negative emotions and how to build your positive emotions. You know, even recently I was talking to a social worker and a therapist of my daughters, and both of them had the comment of, well, you don't want to be too positive. And I really had a hard time laughing because I didn't want to disrespect them, but, and their limited belief systems, let's be honest, it's very limited. Is there such a thing as a too much of a good thing? Can we get too much positivity? And I guess probably what they're trying to get across is that they don't want to see someone living in a fantasy world. We don't want to be in a world where, like, oh, I never have a negative emotion and everything's perfectly fine, and, you know, yay, party, party, happy, happy, joy, joy. But inside, we can never feel like that all the time. That's not how we work. It's not how we're supposed to work. So this is where that balance does come in. But the problem that I see a lot in modern therapeutic techniques is therapists trying to help the patient, client, to really do well in their negative emotions. Let's express them. Let's talk about them. What are they related to? Where did they come from? Who influenced them? And on and on and on. And so you really like, you're like jumping back down into that hole, like a quicksand hole, and rummaging around in there and like really building some structure in there and like making this your home. We don't want it to be our home. We understood last week how our bodies use negative emotions. So let's just go with the flow of that. The body uses the negative emotion to give us focus, tunnel vision in times of stress or danger, or you know, emergency, need to make a decision real quick. What is it? And that emotion that we feel is the indication of what that decision needs to be. So we have that negative emotion, and then our reasoning brain gets to come in and say, that was a negative emotion. Let's categorize it. It was anger, fear, anxiety, etc. Right? Disgust, sadness, blah, blah, blah. So what do I do with that? Well, obviously, you know, if it's in a physically dangerous situation, you know, one of your options might be run. Okay, is that safe? Your reasoning brain. This all happens in a tenth of a second. Don't forget, this is not something that we sit down and we discuss with ourselves in an emergency. Now the car is coming at me. What do I do? And of course, in a movie, you're going to see someone turn around and like run straight down the street, the same direction the car is going. Like, their reasoning mind, they are in their emotional brain. That's what we do when we live in the emotional brain. We look at what's coming and we're like, oh my God. Like we freeze like the deer in the headlights, or we run in this away, but in the same direction as the problem's coming. And so we get caught by it either way, because we were in our emotional brain at that moment, and we didn't allow our reasoning brain to take over and say, hey, that's a step to the side, that's a run to the side, that's a drop and roll over there. You get out of the way. You don't freeze, you don't run the same direction or towards it. And and so this is where we need to work with ourselves. We need to allow that emotional brain to be our guide. In a social situation, we might find ourselves disgusted. Why? Why are we disgusted? This person? Is it their smell? Is it their energy? Is it really them? Are we disgusted by them as a person, or are we disgusted by the recognition of what we see in them reflecting ourselves that we don't like? Or is it our reaction to them that we're disgusted by, etc.? So the reasoning brain, we need to work with it. It's our guidance system, and it's amazing. But the emotions is what lets our reasoning brain know what's happening in the moment and what's really happening. Our emotional brain senses energy levels and frequencies. The emotional brain, you can start to feel an emotional response to something that hasn't even happened yet. How is that possible? Because our emotional brain is in touch with the part of our brain that recognizes frequency and energy. The reasoning brain needs to be able to translate that correctly for our betterment and safety. Okay, let's move on. So again, I really like this chart. We want to just keep in mind that we are not cold creatures. Neutrality is deadness, depression is coldness and a lot of deadness. And what we're looking for is pure happiness. Pure happiness is light. Light as in the light we turn on, and light as in how you feel, heavy or light, weight-wise. When we are, you see the different parts of the body that get all fired up with different emotions and cut off the rest of the body. Like if you're going to feel this emotion, you can't use the rest of your body. We don't want to cut anything off. And even love, while it lights up all the chakras, it leaves the extremities. Because love can be a little bit narrow visioned. And in order to be truly happy, happiness is about ourselves. It's about how we see ourselves, how we understand who we are, where we came from, what we're doing here. Happiness is about trusting ourselves and loving ourselves and being our own parent, mother, father, being our own friend, being our own lover, being everything that we need for ourselves. Now, I'm not saying that two is not better than one. I'm not saying that, we shouldn't look for marriage and partnership and all of that, because that's just, that it's just more. It's not that we can get married to be happy or find a friend to be happy, or if only our parents were a good mother or father, we would be happy. All of the happiness comes from inside of us, and every cell in our body has to go into that. So everything lights up. So where are we right now? What are we feeling right now? What are our children feeling? What does that look like for them? What is their face saying versus what their emotions are saying? Are we expressing accurately what our emotions are? It's very important to be able to express what we're feeling. Now, not in a destructive way. And we'll talk about at the end some positive ways to express our emotions, even the negative ones. All the time understanding that the expression of an emotion is the verbalization of what's happening in the energy that our emotional brain is recognizing. And oftentimes we have to express that verbally in order for our reasoning mind to be able to process it. Now, some people like to hit something to express their anger. And this could be a therapeutic process, as long as it's, a punching bag and not a person or a breakable object. But there's also other ways. So we have to know for us, what is a constructive way of expressing an emotion, and then what we do with it. So again, these are the different parts of the brain that are developing at different ages. And as you see, if we stay in our emotional brain, if we live in our emotional brain, we're always arguing and fighting. We get upset and we just live in that stress and upsetness and anxiety, and we talk about it and we react based on how we're feeling negatively. All of this keeps us at a child development stage of our emotions. This is why people who are very, very overly emotional and always reacting out of emotions, we call them emotionally immature. When actually it's not so much emotionally immature, it's really reasoning brain immature. We have not taught our brain to be in control. We have not understood or been taught how to use our emotions as a tool and not a vehicle of living. It's not the home that we're building. This is not the goal. So let's talk about things that are very effective. How can we effectively, how can we efficiently and safely affect our emotions? So we understood that the negative emotion is giving us focus, so we're not distracted, so our reasoning brain can immediately understand a situation and decide what to do with it appropriately. Now, positive emotions are coming in and bringing us so much more. Remember, the positive emotion is not only building something for the future, but it's also healing the damage that is done by negative emotions. So our positive emotions help us to stay in what's true, because our emotional brain, when we understand that something's wrong, sometimes we just think we throw the baby out with the bathwater. Oh, this is a bad situation, blah, out of here. But wait, it's a negative situation, something's wrong, you're noticing something's wrong, but is it all of it? Is there anything there for you? Any information, lesson, a person, an idea, an understanding? Is there something there for you? So the processing situations and emotions is very important. And being in a positive state of mind is going to give us a lot more clarity, because when we're thinking positively, we have a much broader perspective. Remember, negative emotion, tunnel vision; positive emotion, expansion. And as we can expand and we can see things from a different perspective, a big picture, the big puzzle, whatever you want to call it, then we're able to understand why that emotion came and what to do with it. So let's talk about how to positively affect our feelings and our emotions with different things. How do we do that? How do we bring more positivity? So that we have also the strength, because positive emotions, remember, they create that serotonin that makes us feel good and have energy and want to go forward and feel inspired and motivated. And so we don't want to fall into a depression and feel down. We want to feel really good. When we feel good, we want to do good. So if we want to make good decisions, we have to feel good. So how do we get our brain to feel good? Well, one thing is we have to be able to cross the BBB, the blood-brain barrier. Now, most drugs, most pharmaceutical drugs, thank God, cannot cross this barrier. They're working very, very hard on it, but our brain is so protective. Our body is so protective of our brain that it's like, you know, it's like the universe being very protective of space. Like, it's hard to get out there. So what is going to cross that blood-brain barrier and allow us to affect the cells in the brain and the brain function, the brain response, the neural responders, etc. So obviously, one of our favorite things is essential oils. Now, an essential oil can trigger, the reason it can be so specifically effective is because it can trigger a specific response in the body. For one, smell can trigger memory responses. So anytime we're dealing with difficult memories, and we don't like, let's say you're in a therapy session, you don't remember what happened in a difficult situation, and you need to. This is like something that's going to be beneficial for you. You can try to find the smell that will remind you, will put you right back in that situation. Now we can do just the opposite. Now we want to be able to let a situation go. And so we can find the herbs and plants that tell our brain to release the things that don't serve us, let it go, don't hold on to it tightly. And so as we meditate or focus or talk about a certain thing that we're releasing and what we do want to experience, instead, we take a certain smell, a certain herb or plant with us to do that. And then that smell will remind us of the healing. Okay, so we can be very specific. Someone comes in all anxious and upset, whether it's our kid or our friend or our client or whatever, you know, and we can just spritz a little bit of lavender in the air or on ourselves even. And not only will it provide us health benefits, but it will also positively influence the other person in relaxation, maybe a little deeper breath. I find that many times with my clients, when I want them to breathe deeply, if I just start noticeably breathing deeply, they will start also. And so, you know, we lead people like this by example. As you can see, there are so many good and positive effects of essential oils, and it's something that we really can't go wrong with. Now, the thing about essential oils is that they're very important. It's very important that they're pure. They're very, very, very pure. Organic does not mean pure. Organic just means that the original plant had no chemical on it. Now, a purer than an organic means that no matter what came onto the plant, because sometimes even organic plants get chemicals from neighboring fields, that no matter what came onto that plant, that at the end of the process, by the time you put it into your body, it is so purified, there's no even hint of anything unnatural or negative in it for you. Okay, so the essential oil has to be incredibly pure. No fillers, no additives, nothing. The only way you can tell this is not by what's written on the bottle, because it's an unregulated area in the world, an unregulated, well, I forgot the word right now. But so the only way you can know is not by what people say, but by the test that they provide. An essential oil company, to prove that they have pure oil, must go through third-party testing, and they must make that transparent and available to the public. And if they don't buy their oils. It's very simple. Next, they need to have some kind of, it needs to be a therapeutic level of potency, because this is the difference between drinking a cup of peppermint tea for digestion issues. I'm not saying like just after a meal for a nice digestion, but like you have digestion issues or disease or sickness or whatever, 1 cup of peppermint tea isn't going to really help, no matter how many times a day you drink it. It might provide a small amount of relief, and it might actually feel like it makes things worse. So the potency, how does the potency help? Peppermint is very, very good for digestive issues. How do we make it something very effective? We concentrate it. And we're not going to use some of the words that, if we were selling pharmaceuticals, there would be other words that we use, when the doctor says, here, take your, your stuff, and it will fix this problem. So we're not saying, here, take some peppermint oil and it fixes this problem. It becomes, this certain item for you, and you're going to take it every day for the rest of your life. No, what we're trying to do is we're trying to heal the source. We're trying to find, what does our body need in order to heal that problem? So, well, there's a lot of other oils besides peppermint, right? There's tarragon, there's chamomile, there's caraway, there's fennel, there's licorice. There's so many different other plants that also help to heal digestion. So we concentrate it down to so that instead of drinking 1 cup of peppermint tea or fennel tea or whatever it is that we need, we're going to take 1 drop of oil, which for peppermint, it's equal to 28 cups of peppermint tea. If I drank 28 cups of peppermint tea, I would definitely feel sick. But I take 1 drop of peppermint and I feel cooled off. I feel my brain feels more open. My tummy feels good. I feel like more, it's easier to find ideas and inspiration and be awake and alert. So I have many health benefits and no side effects. And it's easy, through trial and error or using little diagnostic machines to find out which of the digestion plants is going to be good for your tummy. Okay, so essential oils, we also need a lot of education with it. Now, what are some other ways that we can not just increase our ability, not just increase the amount of positive thoughts that we're going to have, but our ability to find those thoughts in the middle of chaos? Now, I think this is one of the most important things we can do, because sometimes the chaos is in our mind and it's from the negative thoughts or feelings, and sometimes the chaos is outside of us. It's the environment. We're out in a crowd, or the kids are just, maybe even happily playing, but it's loud and noisy and stuff is happening, or you're doing 3, 5, 6, 10 things at once. Whatever it is, there's always chaos going on out there. And without stillness, without quietness, we can't find our inner voice. We can't find our inner peace. We can't find solutions, and it's really hard to grab onto those positive thoughts because sometimes we can't even just think of them. So mindfulness meditation, regular mindfulness meditation, includes mindfulness, a practice of mindfulness itself, a practice of meditation itself, and things like yoga or Pilates. Harvard, a neuroscientist in Harvard, Sarah Laser, PhD, she runs research labs and to study the effects of mindfulness meditation, which includes yoga. And her team has done numerous tests involving neuroimaging, which is like brain scans, to measure and track mindfulness-based changes that happen in our brain. Our brain actually shifts, how it works, the neural pathways, the conductors, the reactors, these things change and shift as we are able to take out the outside noise and come into ourselves. And if we are a whole universe on our own. So being able to understand the wisdom and amazingness that is us, incredible. There's not two of me. Even if I was a twin, I would still be completely unique. There would always be things that make me completely different than my identical twin. So this study also says that their results suggest that meditation can produce experience-based structural alterations in the brain. They found evidence that age slows down that meditation slows down age-related atrophy of certain areas in the brain. And they found that in as little as 8 weeks of just constant mindfulness practice, so mindfulness, meditation, yoga, is enough to tame and shrink your amygdala. And what's more, Dr. Laser's research shows that the amygdala taming correlates with changes in stress. The more stress reduction that people report, the smaller the amygdala was shown to be. So this should be really encouraging for everybody. And yoga does not need to be in any way related to a religious practice or understanding or religious meditation or anything like that. Yoga by itself, with no other attachments or understandings, is pure science. Each position relates to a meridian in the body, an organ. It massages our internal organs, it opens them up, it strengthens them, it brings our body into alignment. And Pilates is also very, very excellent for bringing the body into alignment. I like the practice of both personally, because with Pilates, you can really very accurately and efficiently work on little tiny things that you don't really know are there, little small muscles that help you keep an ankle more straight, or the back more straight, or the neck, or the hips correct, and all of that. Alignment is so important in our mental, emotional, spiritual, physical beings. So I love that Pilates really focuses on that, on alignment and strengthening this kind of like this little puppet thing that we are, to be completely physically in alignment. Yoga helps us to bring in the mental and emotional alignment with our body. And it directly affects and targets specific organs and systems and meridians to help with that flow, with the flow of the lymph system, the flow of the circulatory system, the strengthening of different muscles to help to keep us in alignment, etc. Another good practice for bringing that stillness, that quietness, and developing more space in ourselves, mentally, emotionally, physically, for positive emotions, is deep breathing. Deep breathing exercises are extremely helpful for almost all health issues. That brings more oxygen into the body, it opens everything up, it brings awareness. It's a meditative process. So I love doing deep breathing while I'm meditating, or while I'm sitting in awareness, practicing awareness. This is a great little exercise here. So you can take a screenshot or a picture of that, or I can send it to you. But I want us to really work, we talked on the lung week about breathing and the importance of using, are we really breathing? Or is there just air kind of going in and out of our throat, upper lung area? And we're just getting enough to survive, but slowly, slowly brain cells are dying. I'm laughing because that really happens. We don't get enough oxygen to our brain. And so we slowly retard. What about some day that you feel like, oh my God, I can't think. like I can't get the words out correctly, and you don't particularly maybe feel some kind of irritation or physically, like you're not sick, you're not having breathing problems. But this is one thing that stress does to us, is it contracts us. And so when we feel that contraction, this is a negative emotion the body is feeling. It's tunnel visioning us. It's trying to get us into a small space so that we can go, oh, that's the problem. There we go. So when we feel like we're not breathing, understand your body's in stress, it's in fear or anxiety, and you're reacting emotionally, physically reacting emotionally. So deep breathe. Use all of your lungs, open up your lungs to the very bottom, get all of those stagnant virus and bacteria down there, get them out, and just breathe slowly in and out, especially out. Try to breathe longer out, more seconds out than you breathe in. As we do that, it brings more oxygen to our brain. It brings clearer thinking and understanding, broader perspective. The concentration goes, the constriction goes away. We start expanding. Our brain feels expanded, our mind, our heart, everything. We're feeling upset with someone. Breathe deeply. It brings in joy and happiness, and all of a sudden you can feel more love to the person and understand how to deal with them, the situation, in a more loving and effective way. Another way to bring about positive emotions and expansion of our consciousness is and changing the neural patterns and pathways in our brain is chanting. Now, chanting, it helps to study the no. Oh my goodness. I think I need to go do some deep breathing. Chanting helps to calm down the emotional brain, and using fMRI, the functional magnetic resonance imaging, to scan the brains. Many subjects of these tests on chanting, which can be like singing prayer or like mantra, excuse me, it significantly deactivates them amygdala. So this is really good. Now this is why singing, and this is why we use mantras. Mantras are a tool to change a neural pathway, to create a subconscious automated response belief system, to overcome negative belief systems or habits. And once it becomes an automatic response in the brain, once the neural pathway is changed, we don't always have to do that mantra over and over and over again. Once we believe it inside and out, our body's going to respond automatically to that belief. But what is a belief? A belief is just a thought we continue to think. So every time we see an advertisement or someone says something else, our belief is challenged subconsciously. So when we are working on speaking our truth to ourselves, what is true, what we know to be true, what our personal truth is, etc., this is why we have repetitive praying. This is why we have certain ways of praying that we repeat over and over and over. It creates a certain seder in our body. How would you, in English, it creates a certain order in our body. Okay, and it calms us and relieves stress and etc. So whatever way you want to express that is going to be very, very helpful. So aromatherapy is, it's using essential oils in breathing. Now, when we were talking about essential oils before, we were also talking a lot about really taking them internally. Now, our sense of smell is very related to our life itself, our life force, our ability to be alive. It is the first thing we do when we come into this, come out of the womb into this world of oxygen, is breathe. And so we don't really have to think about breathing. It happens automatically. But it affects us very greatly, whether we're not breathing deeply enough, we're breathing too fast, we're breathing in garbage chemical smells, etc. We want to make sure that we're breathing in things that are going to create an environment of healing in our body. This is what we're going for. Our body is going to be able to take care of itself if it has the right information, the right nutrition, and the right environment. So here are some beautiful examples of emotional oils that help us to trigger the body to focus on feeling a certain way. So some, like these are different sections in essential oils. All the citrus oils, they're very uplifting and revitalizing. They lift your mood, and they also even you out. So when you're feeling depressed, it's not like a shot of caffeine that's going to like give you a jolt and a buzz. It's going to really like, it lifts you up, like easing the burden, easing the darkness. You feel a little bit lighter, a little bit more energy. You can breathe more. Spices are very renewing and intriguing. They're inspiring, they're motivating, they're curious. They make us want to know more and explore and taste and smell and like have new ideas. Trees and woods are very grounding and balancing. So if your head is buzzing all the time, your mind's going a million miles an hour, when you're trying to go to sleep, use some trees and woods to ground you, to balance you, to make you feel more even. Of course, there's the herbs and grasses. Sorry, I forgot about those, and which are comforting and soothing. So, I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory, but it's just fun. The florals are calming and reassuring, comforting like a hug, and mints are energizing and calming. Energizing and calming, aren't they opposites? Well, actually, no. You can be very energized. You can have a lot of energy to do what you need to do and feel very calm about it. You can feel very buzzed and in angst about doing something you got to do, and you can like push yourself for it, and you get your adrenaline rush and your stress hormones like shots into the body, and you're like going full speed, but your mind is in chaos, your emotions are in chaos, and so you're going to burn out really quickly, for one. Two, your body's going to be left with stress hormones that it has to try and process. And if you're too toxic, it's going to store it in the body somewhere, so it doesn't kill you. And you're not going to feel calm. You're going to appear stressed to other people, even if you don't notice it yourself. So mints are wonderful, like the peppermint I took when I was working on a client earlier. I was feeling an emotion with them that I didn't want to, an irritation at the way they're responding to my treatment. And my first thought was, okay, curiosity, observance versus judgment. There's no judgment. But then I felt like this nervous, like resistance every time, they would do something. And so I took a couple drops of peppermint oil and just breathed it in, because that's a lot. That's really strong. Just breathed a lot. My mind felt a lot more clear. And I had energy to finish the work, because I was feeling like really, like, I don't want to do this. Like, they're resisting what I'm doing and it's not going to help them. And like, mwah. And so as I took that peppermint on my tongue, and I kept my mouth open because I wanted to breathe it, get it into my brain too. It calmed me down, and I just felt more and more acceptance. Okay, this is their wellness journey. This is their healing journey. If they're not ready to go all in, that's okay. Who am I to say they're ready? Just because I can see what they need It doesn't mean they're ready. And there's nothing wrong about that. In fact, if you try to do what's needed in a time when you're not ready for it, it's a disaster. So anyways, it just changed my whole perspective. So that's just a little example of today of how we can quickly change our emotional state of mind and allow the reasoning brain to have mastery and control over what we do with those negative emotions. My negative emotions were telling me something's off balance here, but it was mostly me. It was me not accepting where my client was in their healing journey. Okay, so another thing that we want to, another thing that positive emotions do is they create an emotional elasticity. Forgiveness is a huge part of that emotional elasticity. And basically, I want to tell you that forgiveness is not something you can give. It is a frequency. Forgiveness is an actual measurable frequency. How do we reach that frequency? I think this is the better question, not how do I forgive others? How do I forgive myself? Because that speaking of it in that way makes it a verb. It's not a verb. I cannot do forgiveness. What I can is become forgiveness or resonate on the same frequency as that of forgiveness. So this blend that doTERRA has it's really powerful. I can't tell you. A quick example is I had a client come in after an incredibly traumatic experience. I did not know that something had happened. And as she lay on her back, and I just felt intuitively, I need to put forgiveness. I could feel the energy of her body. I could feel her just in pain, in trauma, emotionally. And so I just put forgiveness around her tummy and her belly button. And instantly she started crying and crying and crying, just shaking. And then she told me what had happened. And I was crying too. It was so huge. And but it was fascinating how fast this triggered. What did it trigger? So this is what I want to tell you for how to become forgiveness. Forgiveness is the energy of releasing everything that doesn't serve me. Why do we say forgiveness is for ourselves and not for the other person? Because it's not a verb. We can't clean their house. We can't forgive them. We cannot undo what they did. We cannot nullify it. They can't take it back. They can't fix it. I cannot absolve anyone of the wrongdoing they've done to me or that they've done that has affected me. And if I say, I forgive you, we're using it as a verb. It's a nice thought, but it's not really practical. When we seek forgiveness from someone else, we're asking them to do something that they cannot do for us. The only way to find forgiveness is to resonate with the frequency of it. So these beautiful plants, the spruce, the bergamot, juniper berry, myrrh, arborvitae, on all of those are really helpful they help us find that frequency of forgiveness. They resonate that frequency. And so when we put it on our body, because this is not something we take internally, those plants, you're not supposed to eat the wood and all of that. Some woods we can, but not these. As we put them on our skin and breathe them in, it goes past the blood-brain barrier. And it triggers a response, a like response. Like attracts like. So if we allow someone to bother us, to get in our, why do we say things like that? Oh, she got in my head. What does that mean? She triggered a reaction inside of me that I resonated with and continued sharing. That's all. It's a frequency. Oh, wow, this can be really life-changing. A frequency I can change, a feeling. I cannot make myself forgive you. I cannot make myself be okay with what you did. I will never be okay with what you did. What you did was not okay. So how do I forgive? I resonate with the frequency of releasing everything that doesn't serve me. And in forgiveness, that just means releasing anger, resentment, confusion, guilt, sadness, regret, all of the negative emotions that told us there was something wrong. So instead of using those negative emotions as a tool to help us understand the situation, and then let our reasoning mind be in control and effectively give us a plan of action that will be beneficial for us and everyone around us, we held on to those emotions and we say, they did that to me. No, they did the action they did, and we held on to the emotions that it made us feel, and we now put this in our story, and this is now part of us. This is, in our story of life, this is on the wall framed. Oh, this is so-and-so who did this to me. What does that feel like? All of these terrible things, get that off your wall. Release everything that doesn't serve us. We cannot benefit anyone by holding on to those emotions and holding them against somebody else. Whatever they did, they're going to have to fix in themselves. The only person we can fix is us. So here's, I have a bunch of aromatherapy charts here. And this is just really a great resource tool. So if any of you want to have this on your phone or computer, you want access to these, please send a message to NR support at protonmail.com. I'm going to show you at the end. And this way you can use them at home to understand how to affect a certain emotion or to get rid of a negative emotion that you don't want to be sitting in. You want to release it. You're feeling a negative emotion that you don't want. You're feeling bitterness that you don't want. And you don't know how to get rid of it. So take some of the herbs or the grasses, essential oils, and sit down in meditation and awareness. Breathe it in and release. And just think about, I'm surrendering. I am releasing everything that doesn't serve me. I'm welcoming in everything that does. And what do I mean by serve me? I mean anything that is not helping me on my journey forward. Anything that is not supporting my journey of light and love is not serving me. It's not beneficial for me. So I release everything that's non-beneficial. And let's just remember that the simplest things in life are the most extraordinary. The simplest act of sitting down and consciously breathing instead of automatically breathing can save a person's life. So again, let's learn to express our emotions, identify what's happening, use the words, I feel this, it feels like this for me, I experience this. Never blame someone else. They didn't do this to you. The reason you feel a certain way about them or the situation is because your intelligent, freakishly intelligent brain understands that something is out of balance in this situation. That's it. So never blame another person. It's completely inappropriate and it will never get you the results that you want because it doesn't make sense. They're not feeling this, you are. And they can't do anything to change that, how you're feeling. You will still, even if they correct what they said, you feel okay, it's still your response to what they said that made you feel okay, not what they said. So here is another good example of just inhaling into our soft belly, taking in the light and the love and healing energy. We cannot express outwardly what we are not inside. Not to any real way and not for any length of time. Whatever is outside is a manifestation of something that's inside, and it doesn't matter what that is. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's acne because our gut is out of balance. It doesn't matter if because our face is all screwed up because inside we're resentful and full of anger and hatred and guilt. It doesn't matter if we're, a really huge, big, fat person because of emotional and physical health, or if we're a really little skinny, frail person that has no strength. Everything is showing us the innards. And it's the same with the world. When we look around at the big picture of the world, what's going on out there, it's a reflection of not only what's going on in the core of everything, but what's going on in ourselves. We can't help but affect the world around us. And so let's use the negative emotions as tools to help us to get where we want to go. Now, I wanted to share with you, boy, I don't know if you can see this pop up. I wanted to share with you a positivity test to be able to offset our tendency to dwell on potential threats and other negative emotions. We need to start noticing and enhancing the positive ones. So this lady named Barbara Fredrickson, she created an online assessment that helps us to identify our emotions within the last 24 hours, whether they're positive or negative, and just give us a positivity ratio. So like by recognizing emotions such as joy and awe and love, gratitude, etc., we can increase the positivity in our daily life. So if you can't see this pop up of the chat, I'll just tell it to you. It's www.positivityratio.com/single.php. So that's positivityratio.com/single.php. So I encourage everyone to go take this test and see where your baseline is right now and what we're going to see in the future. Take it every week. How are you doing? You can take it on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, but it's great to keep in touch with ourselves and know what's going on. So another amazing way that we keep our emotional brains in a healthy place is that our brain gets all the nutrients it needs. Our body and the rest of our body does also, because it's connected. It's all connected. So this is our Cleanse and Restore kit in doTERRA. I love kits because sometimes you just don't know what to take, right? There's so many cleansing things out there. And a lot of them are great. But when you say, I want to, the Cleanse and Restore kit is about cleansing the body and then restoring it, bringing it back to full function. So a lot of times when we cleanse, we're like breaking down a lot of things, but we don't know how to effectively build it back up. So this is a 3-stage process here, this Cleanse and Restore kit. It comes with a little calendar of what to take on which days of the month, so that you're renewing and you're rejuvenating, as well as cleansing. This is a kit that anyone can take. If it's a child, talk to us. It's a little bit different. You have a different vitamin kit. The Lifelong Vitality is all your vitamins and minerals and antioxidants, omegas, etc. And if you're pregnant or nursing, you would leave out the GX assist. If you're very, very sick, you would start very slow. So no matter what you do, talk to us, be in touch with your health professional that is not, let's say, mainstream modern medicine, because they're not taught nutrition. You want to speak to someone who is well-versed in natural medicine and nutrition. If you need guidance, and if you need testimonies or references or anything like that, we have them indefinitely. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. I'm so happy to be here. We went, oh wow, 10 minutes over time already. But what a great ending to our 12-week course. And this is the end, but it's also a new beginning. And so I want to just talk a tiny bit about what's next for us here. We've come to the end of the foundational healing series, the basic course. How does our body heal itself, and how do we support that? And how do we get rid of all the bad stuff that's gotten in? So first thing I want to say is this course is on our YouTube channel. And if you are a member of our doTERRA team, you are welcome to have this at any time for free, have access to it at any time for free. If you are not a member of our doTERRA team, you are invited to contact me at nrsupport@protonmail.com. And we can discuss continued access. I like to make this whole series available to everyone, because this is not just about doTERRA. Yes, for essential oils, I will only use doTERRA. And if you want more reasons for that, I'm happy to share. But it's very, after a lot of research and, using essential oils since I was a kid that were not doTERRA, there's a lot of really important reasons that I will only use doTERRA right now. But the rest of it, it's just, this is basic information. Every human, every child, every adult needs to understand how their body works. We are so incredible. We are magical, and we don't know even the half of our power and our ability and our potential. Whatever we can conceive in our mind, we can achieve. And not always in the 3D world, but we can do it. So we need to remember how amazing we are and share that with others. So this course is free, absolutely, for everyone. Now, after this course, I'm going to start after Shavuot here, a new chapter. I'm going to begin again the continued education course of Beyond the Basics. In this course, we take each of the sections that we were in before, and we learn a lot deeper information about the function of the liver or the kidneys, and we tie it in deeper in emotions, in our mental health, and how we can treat it, how we can understand what's happening in our body, and really become our own health practitioner. Can I say that? Is that legal? If you ever heard the expression, physician, heal yourself, we want to understand. It's like, okay, I like comparing our body to a computer or a car. This thing, I can take my computer or my car to a mechanic to get fixed, or I can learn how it works and understand how it all fits together and learn how to fix it myself. Now, with a car, I'm fixing it, but with my body, I'm getting it the right information, the right nutrition, and the right environment in order for it to fix itself. So I can learn how to do that, or I can go to someone else who's going to help me, and who knows how to do that, and just tell me what to do. I really like to empower people. I like to feel empowered. And so I'm really excited to start with everyone. Now, this is free only for our doTERRA team members, the continued education course. This is a lot more detail, a lot more in depth, and you, at the end of it, you will receive a certificate of completion, so that others can know, and it's not that, I'm a doctor or something, but this is just information that I'm not going to share anything with you that you cannot find out on your own. But what I'm doing is that I'm organizing information in a way that hopefully makes sense, is flowing, understandable, and entertaining enough that in some way you're going to remember it. The certificate of completion is just going to say that you've completed the course, you have been taught all of this information, and I'm working on an optional testing as well, so that you can test yourself what your knowledge, what your retention level of this knowledge was. And of course, everyone who takes the course will have free access for a lifetime. Business. So after the week after Shavuot, I'm going to do a class on how to use how to do business with health. Some people are healers or educators, and they want the way that they make a living to be in the area of health and wellness. Like I do. I love this so much. This is my love. I think about this, I talk about it, I dream about it, I research it, and every possible connection to it. So I can't imagine, going to an office and, doing IT work, because it's just not interesting to me. This is interesting to me. So this is how I make my living. And if somebody else wants to do to do that in their own way, I'm doing a class on, kind of how to start doing that. I'm creating a business for yourself in the world of health and wellness. So that is going to be, that's not part of this series, but it's a separate in-between one. And then after that, we will do the continued education. So again, thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for you joining me in this journey. And I'm so excited to hear the testimonies that you have as you just come to these new awarenesses about your body and the organs and how we affect it and treat it and support it or fight against it, and what incredible alignment and organization and balance this is going to bring into your life in all ways, mentally, emotionally, physically, and your affairs. Our affairs represent our manifestations of what's going on inside of us as well. If we're getting cheated out there in the world, there's something out of balance inside us. It's not that everybody out there is bad. Okay, so that's just a little example. When things are going well for us, then we can see that we're more in alignment inside of ourselves as well. All right, everyone, I can go on, but thank you so much for being here. And this is the email, nrnaturallyrootedsupport@protonmail.com. And if you have any questions or you want a consultation about health issues or business, just drop me a line. And actually, this is our whole team. So do specify who you're trying to reach. That's all for today. Thank you. Again, it was an amazing course. I look forward to seeing you, hopefully, in the continued education beyond the basics. And I wish all of you a wonderful, beautiful, well-balanced life in light and love.